Hey, it's me again. You're probably wondering why I'm in my pajamas. Well, I fortunately don't have the virus. Yet. I instead have an earache, and it's been an irritating pain for roughly a week. But that's not going to stop me from making this video. Right then, Munch's Oddysee. Despite it being the second episode in the storyline in the same series, it's completely different than the other two games. Instead of the Live, we now have Microsoft. Instead of the PlayStation, we now have the Xbox. Instead of a side-scrolling platformer, we now have a 3D... platformer? Is it still a platformer? Now, I know more about Munch's Oddysee than Abe's Exodus. Mainly because I didn't have the PS1 but an original Xbox during my childhood. In fact, I even have the game. So let's sit on the sofa and watch. This is Munch, silly known as Latin Mimer, and he's the last Gacha on Oddworld. Back in the day, there were lots of Gabbits. Until his Gabbit friends were captured by netting. Now Munch is the only one left. One night, while he was calling out for them, he finally got a response. So he left the ocean to investigate. It turns out that the Gabbit call wasn't a Gabbit call, but a bear trap. Wait, do bears even exist in Oddworld? Munch unfortunately got his foot trapped in said trap. Who would ever do such a thing to a cute Gabbit? What's this? Well, according to the raisin here, the flying saucer we just saw is called Vykkers Labs. Vykkers Labs is an experiment and research facility known for creating pharmaceuticals and even food products. It's a toxic place, yet it's unknown why. The airborne place had captured Munch on the same night, and the raisin sent Abe to the big world to rescue Munch. And so Abe goes through the raisin's cave. That's where he meets the loyal servant of the raisin, and an elderly Murdocan shaman with the ability to teleport. He's the one who gives Abe advice during the long journey. After Abe makes it out of the cave, he goes through the spruce shrub forest. Once he finds his lazy Murdocan friends, he takes them to the entrance to the big well. They open doors, attack a rented cop as they say in America, and Abe even runs through a slog run. Meanwhile, in that UFO we saw earlier, Munch gets wheeled into an R&D room by interns. Once Munch is there, one of the leading Vykkers scientists, Humphrey, whose original design isn't a sight, implants a sonar in his head. His friend and associate Owen, who also has a scary design, suddenly barges in and demands to know what he's doing since Munch is the last Gabbit. Oh yeah, you're probably wondering why they captured Munch. Well, being the sadistic surgeons they are, the Vykkers also captured Gabbits so they can convert their lungs to Gluckin lungs. The Gluckin Queen, Lady Margaret, needs new lungs herself during the story, and that's why they have Munch. Anyway, Munch is, like I said, the last Gabbit on Oddworld, so Owen believes that they both should be extremely careful with him. Needless to say, Owen is fuming with the fact that Humphrey isn't thinking straight, as usual, and continues to berate him. Tired and fed up, Humphrey orders him to shut up so he can explain. Once the room is silent, Humphrey explains that he will use Munch to retrieve trapped critters using the sonar to allow more free time for him and Owen to conduct their research. If this were Sims 4, Owen would have died of embarrassment. The pair eventually leave after suddenly remembering that Owen left a fuzzle on the burner. With this advantage, Munch uses his new sonar to free a group of fuzzles from their cages. In return, the fuzzles bite Munch's restraint and free him. Munch then proceeds through fuzzle testing, hydrophobic rats, fluoride tanks, and the snoozy lab, before arriving at a poop Meanwhile, Abe and the others arrive at the big well, and Alf pushes Abe in. This launches him up, and he's slammed against the protruding pole sticking out of Vykkers Labs. At the same time, Munch also chooses the right time to fall, and they both plummet to the ground, surviving somehow. The Meducans, however, abandon them there in the Meducan pens. Jerk! With the Meducan squad gone, all that's left is the duo, who got to know each other after 5 seconds. After which they save Fozzles in said place, and the Meducan Fortress, which is also where Abe upgrades his lazy Meducans like his ratchet off-road parts. They also save Scrubs and run through slugs in 2 slug huts. And lastly, they both make their way hastily through the Carbide herd before returning to the Raisin's cave. The Raisin tells Munch that he must return to Vykkers' labs with Abe in order to obtain Gabiar, the last kind of Gabbit eggs, as well as help Abe save his Meducan eggs. However, the Raisin explains that the duo will need the assistance of a Gluckan named Lulu if they want to infiltrate Vykkers' labs. They must make Lulu rich by possessing other Gluckans and forcing them to donate all their wealth to Lulu Fund, then possess Lulu and make him buy the last can of Gabiar. Their first destination, a Ruptifar's meat ranch, where they herd the meat safely into their pens, battle slugs and make the first Gluckan broke. Next in line is a Gluckan attempting to convert a windmill into a Soulstorm brew microbrewery. He even convinced the natives to become his slaves with false promises of brew. To complicate the situation, the mill is surrounded by scraps. So they trap the scraps, save the slaves, restore the power to the mill, dispose security, and make another Gluckan donate moolah to Lulu Fund. From amateurs to larger organizations, the boys are now at Magog Motors. They defeat the armored sligs on the flub fields surrounding the area, then enter the building where they soon come face to face with Big Bro Sligs. Once the manager is taken care of, they head to the Dead River. It's drained of water by the toothpick company, Splinters, who plans to clear-cut the whole place. Like with the Meducan Fortress, Abe restores the water supply, while Munch opens access to No Mud's land, one step closer to Splinters. The shaman informs the pair that due to their presence, the Splinters' security has increased dramatically. Despite the overwhelming odds, they manage to infiltrate the factory. When they enter the Splinters' boiler room, the shaman explains that the Yindel security didn't expect them to even make it. As a result, most of them have fallen asleep, making it easier to rescue the employees and add another moolah to for the fund. Rather than escape Splinters, Abe and Munch make their way to Splinters Manufacturing to take down the CEO, finally sending the company into bankruptcy. With the Lulu Fund gaining wealth and the Gabiar auction nearing, the duo set their sights on the final target, Flub Fuels. Abe possesses 6 junior executives of the Flub Fuels, has each of them donate moolah and release the reservoir water before entering the scrub pens. They save Scrubs and Fuzzles alike before flooding certain rooms and entering the Flubco executive office. After dealing with the Bridgeboro Sligs, Abe possesses the Glock style of Flubco and takes a whopping moolah out of his retirement fund. Wow. Now that the Lulu Fund has acquired an amazing moolah, Lulu himself is invited to Vykkers' labs. 3 million! Abe and Munch sneak aboard Lulu's ship and infiltrate the labs. When Abe rescues Meducan Scrubs, they prepare to load Meducan eggs onto Lulu's ship when Abe throws them into the loading chutes. The Vykkers have been stockpiling these unborn labor eggs and plan to sell them to the highest bidder. Hey, it's what they do. Luckily, Abe and his fellow Mud successfully load them onto Lulu's ship, in which they plan to escape. Munch battles a load of Vykkers and frees Fuzzles during the process. After flooding the place, Abe and Munch move on to the next level where they do the same thing. If they have good Quarma, that is. Oh, you don't know what Quarma is? Quarma is something you, as the player, receives from saving Meducans, Fuzzles, and eggs. So what happens if you abandon them? Well, I should warn you that it's more dark than the other 2 endings. Unlike the two PlayStation classics, you don't get this bad ending after the final level. You actually get it at the end of level 23, the loading dock. Abe and Munch are surrounded by poorly treated fuzzles, angry that they left them to be tortured by the Vykkers. Zero played with them, but the fuzzles proceed to sound the alarm and attack them. Abe was captured and unknowingly killed, his head mounted onto the wall with the word loser put under. Meanwhile, Humphrey called Lady Margaret, letting her know that her new set of lungs are ready and that the transplant can be performed as soon as she's available. Munch is fully awake and horrified at the news as Erwin approaches him with surgical tools. In the cutscene, we see just a heart monitor, but we can still hear him screaming and crying. The monitor flatlines, indicating that Erwin killed him. I did warn you. At least I'm not a child anymore. And I thought horror movies were scary. This is why this game, out of all the other games, has the most horrifying ending. But guess what? Abe and Munch are still alive! Now that's what I call acting. That means there's a good ending. But we've still got another level to go through. If you're lucky enough to have good Quarma, Abe and Munch suddenly separate from each other. While Munch goes on a mission of his own, Abe travels to the Vykker suite where they're cutting up elims. He visits the Vykkers, finally, and attack each other. Salmon even upgrades Tomahawkers into Mudachas to defeat more Vykkers. Abe is the last of the labor eggs and beats Munch. Now for the good ending. Abe and Munch continue their plan to get the last can of Gacha. They possess Lulu and make him take part in the auction, being concocted by Headley, who may look ugly on the outside, but is calm and kind on the inside. Well, he did it! He won the Gacha, but lost his whole entire fortune! Abe and Munch steal the can soon after. They then sneak back onto Lulu's ship where Abe gets his first thank you from Munch. And Abe then remarks this while pointing at Vykkers' labs. Whenever I leave a place like that, it blows up! To which Munch explains that the Fuzzles have already dealt with that. Meanwhile on the ship, Humphrey and Erwin are admonishing Lulu for being an idiot, only to realise that the Fuzzles have planted explosives. They cry and embrace each other because they don't care about social distancing. Lulu's lab blows up, and slowly falls like the Titanic. While it does, it reveals another moon with a Gabbet's foot, indicating that the Gabbets were a chosen race. Well, that's all the endings, although I do feel bad for Humphrey. I mean, yeah, he's sadistic like every Vykker, but he has memorable quotes. There's also a secret ending for each of good and bad. But the story could have been different if it wasn't for Microsoft. During development, Oddworld Inc. had been pressured with time constraints. There's the almighty Razor's biggest story, Saskin's unimportant abattoir, Abe's mum, Sam, being held and likely dying in Vykkers' lab, and Lady Margaret, the Glutton Queen, testifying against Moloch from the first game. Right, now before I rest up, I must tell you something important. Stranger's Wrath will have to wait because I need to get something out of the way. I've written a load of Oddworld fanfictions. That's why I thought about Oddworld lore, so you know what's going on. I'm looking forward to that, but for now, I need to rest up. Thanks for watching.